Now the question is, we all know that wealth is not always, sufficient for all parties, right? We have clearly demonstrated the problems with the assumption of perfect market from, two perspectives, namely natural selection and human habit. So, and remember that I put a bracket, okay, after the previous slide. Sima Tian seemed to support the policy, but does he? Okay, does he really? In fact, he recognized these two problems as well, the natural selection problem and human habit issue. He pointed out quite bluntly that the reason why there are the rich and the poor is not by reason of taking something from one and giving it to the other. It is simply that the clever get more than sufficient, and the less clever get less than they need. Now, he also pointed out the dear psychological consequence of that. He said, among the common people generally, if a man's wealth is tenfold, the people respect him. I think we can all relate. He said, if 100-fold, they fear him. If 1,000-fold, they serve him. And if 10,000-fold, they enslave themselves to him. It is the nature of things. So, as we said earlier, this is the source of the loss of harmony and social disruption. So, if this is a problem, why would Confucians advocate laissez-faire policy in the first place then? Well, we must understand that Confucius, always chooses the middle way. Never the extreme, not left or right, but the middle way. In a time-series fashion, sometimes the society becomes so disordered and need a strong leadership to carry out reforms and even revolution. But this is necessary for the greater good of the people, and it fits for purpose of the time and condition. Other times, people's interests must be taken seriously and government should not stand in their way. So we can see that, on the one hand, during time of economic reforms, the man-made policies, although they are, artificial, they're in the interest of the people, right? For example, the tightening of investment banking business practiced by deposit-taking commercial banks after the financial crisis was a necessary move in order to prevent further financial misconduct. But on the other hand, giving people enough freedom to carry out own business is also beneficial to the people. So let's conclude this lecture by showing a higher level interpretation of Confucius on the concept of laissez-faire policy. I remember in many of his sutra lectures, Venerable Master Ching Kung mentioned that if the education of human nature is not given enough attention, the advancement of technology brings only disaster, not happiness. In order to be able to make use of technology and make it beneficial to mankind, the education of human nature must be promoted. In other words, ethical, moral, causality, and religious education must all be carried out. In Confucianism, human nature can be developed to perfection, and there's no need of too many artificial laws to restrain it and to dwarf its progress. What we worry about is how to do that. For example, universal equality and universal opportunity are, among the most important doctrines of Confucius, and they should come naturally. I mean, we could, of course, make stringent laws that regulate equality. But is it necessary? Is there a better way? In fact, there is. In its most advanced form, these qualities can be achieved through social legislation rather than governmental law. And such social legislation is a natural one. The Chinese speak about natural order. From early lectures, we know that this natural order not only exists in the animal and vegetation kingdom, but also in human society. More specifically, it exists in the 5 human relations. Natural order exists in the relationship between, let's say, the ruler and the subordinates, the parents and the children, between husband and wife, between siblings, and between friends. The driver of harmony in all of these relationships is one word: benevolence. For instance, I should ask, am I a good leader who is kind to the subordinates? Am I a good colleague who takes on responsibility at work? Am I a good husband who is kind to my wife and understand her? Am I a good father who tirelessly educate my children and set the role model for them? Also, am I a good brother who cares for the younger siblings and respect the older siblings? Am I a trustworthy friend? So all of these questions are necessary, and the society can only be in harmony if these relations are comfortably settled properly. For example, it is part of nature for the siblings to love and respect each other. It is not part of nature, however, for the siblings to fight over the inheritance rights of the parents' fortune. Again, it is part of the nature for the ruler to be kind to the subordinate and the subordinate to be loyal to the ruler. It is not part of nature if the ruler, tries to squeeze every last breath from the subordinate and the subordinate hates the ruler to the bone. Therefore, a true laissez-faire society is one where all of these relations are nurtured and maintained at its natural state. Well, what if they're not? Well, in this case, government intervention is needed to bring it back to position. How to do that? Education. And whose responsibility is that? The government. Why? Because the government can naturally set a good example for the people. In other words, the government is the king, is the parent, is the teacher of the people. Also, it really is the responsibility of the government because without harmony in the 5 human relations, the government will not be able to achieve the fancy economic goals that it sets for the country in the first place, at least not in the long term. So with these relations restored to its natural state, we can realize social harmony, and after that, there is nothing left for us to do. The human development is on its natural course, the wealth can be made sufficient, and that is the true laissez-faire policy. And that is how the ancient sages and wise rulers have been practicing. So from the next lecture onwards, we'll introduce a series of topics on consumption, production, and distribution. And we'll study the detailed solutions and theories on how the government bring ethics and morality into economic management. Thank you.